Welcome to Empowering Seniors. I'm your host, Katherine Ambrose. This is a very special story for me. It's one I've wanted to do for a long time because it's become part of our family history. Today we're talking about Kansas Honor Flight. And to help tell the story of Kansas Honor Flight, we have Mike Van Campen here. Mike, thank you so much. So it says flight leader on your shirt. So what is your role?
Well, when we started Kansas Honor Flight in 2012, somebody had to be president, and I didn't understand what they asked, and I raised my hand. What did you say? So I serve as president of Kansas Honor Flight since 2012 on our board of directors, which I'm certainly very honored to do. And the term flight leader, on each flight we have people who have gone numerous times, and they help the veterans have a safe and comfortable trip. And then in addition to that, I'm also the guy who gets the honor of putting the flights together, making the arrangements with the hotels and the airlines and restaurants and all of that.
Very good. And so we just found out, because my sister-in-law put together this wonderful photo album for our family that shows the trip experience from my father-in-law, Don Ambrose. My husband, Randy, went with him. And last night, Randy said it was the honor of his lifetime to go with his dad on this trip.
It is called Honor Flight, and everybody says, well, we're honoring our veterans, which we certainly are, the men and women who served our country during World War II, Korean War, and the Vietnam War. But I'm here to tell you, the people who get to do this and to travel with the veterans, it's our honor. So it's a double honor.
It's just an amazing thing. Then when I started Empowered Senior, we invited Honor Flight has a thank you back to be part of the seminars. We appreciate that. And now to be on the show, it's just so great because this meant so much to Don. And because Don needed someone to go with him, Randy went and pushed his wheelchair. And so they had such an amazing bonding experience. They were always close, but to do this together, they were absolutely blown away with every single moment of this trip. We were getting the blow-by-blow reports every day, and they couldn't believe it.
Well, we work really hard to make it an interesting trip, and certainly a part of it is to see the memorials, to see our nation's capital. There are great memorials. We have a wonderful time at Arlington National Cemetery. But the interaction of the veterans is really important, and we often hear a son or a daughter who goes with their dad or their mother. Dad talked about things he's never talked about. They're interacting with fellow veterans. Your father-in-law was a World War II veteran, and sorry to say we're losing them at a high rate of speed, but we've taken about 3,500 veterans from across the state of Kansas, all 105 counties, and we have a money-back guarantee for the veterans. If they don't, it doesn't cost them a dime to go, so if they don't have a good time, we double their money back.
Okay, that sounds like a good deal, Mike. So why did you get involved with this in the first place?
Well, in 2009, it was a different Honor Flight hub. I went with a longtime friend of mine who was a World War II veteran. And the Lord works in strange ways sometimes, because he had 3 sons, which are more or less my age, and a daughter. Any one of them could have gone with him to help him. He needed a little bit of help walking a long distance. And I said, his name was Dale. I said, Dale, I'd love to go with you. We did, and we had a great time. But I'd retired at that time, and I saw they could use some help. And so my wife and I started helping them, and then we started Kansas Honor Flight in 2012.
So how many flights has Kansas Honor Flight completed?
We have taken 95 flights. In a month, we're taking our 96th flights. And as I said, I get the privilege of helping put them together. I've only been on about 60 of the flights, but we have a great team of volunteers. Kansas Honor Flight is top to bottom, totally volunteer.
And you're not a veteran.
I am not a veteran.
But here you are devoting so much of your life to honoring them.
Well, and You know, just again, the way the Lord works, sometimes that's the way it works out. We are blessed to have a lot of volunteers across the state of Kansas. Our board of directors, consists of 12 individuals, is scattered across the state. Wichita, because we fly out of Wichita, it's the largest city in Kansas, we have a very, very active organization of volunteers in Wichita that help us on the send-off, fundraising, on the welcome home. But I'm here to tell you, people across the state of Kansas are involved in all aspects. The biggest aspect we have is getting veterans to sign up and go on this trip, especially our Vietnam era veterans, some who are still working, but they're taking care of their grandkids and they're taking their wives or husbands on a vacation, and yes, I'll do that someday. Let me tell you, someday might be tomorrow that you're not here. In fact, this week we've had a veteran who was supposed to go in September, passed away Sunday. So we are really, really asking our people across the state of Kansas, if you know a veteran of World War II, Korea War, or Vietnam War, and most of them are Vietnam era veterans now, we need to do this now, not next week. To get signed up, we would get a Vietnam veteran up there next year. And so that is our real push, is to don't delay. Don't delay. We gotta get people up there sooner rather than later.
Because you don't want them to miss out on this incredible opportunity, or it could be the opportunity of a lifetime, to really make memories, and it's unbelievable. So we don't want the veterans to miss out on it. What are some of the other reasons why you really want them to go sooner rather than later?
The flight we have coming up in September, we have 83 Vietnam War veterans on there. 39 of them are going to use a wheelchair some or all of the time. Maybe not all the time, but we do a fair amount of walking when we're in Washington. And again, do it while you're more ambulatory and things about your aging body are still working pretty well. And again, it is a fantastic experience for our Vietnam War veterans. One of our key flight leaders and one of our board members is Kenny White, lives here in Wichita, and he will tell you that this experience for our Vietnam War veterans, they weren't treated very well 50 years ago when they came home, and we tell them, you're still serving our country because you taught America how not to treat our veterans. And today, all of our veterans, men and women, are treated with utmost respect, and that's because of what the Vietnam War veterans did to educate the public how not to do it.
Such a great point. Mike, I think what you're doing is fantastic, and now we're going to hear from some of your fellow volunteers. Let's meet Lavana Slogic. Lavana, thank you for being on the show. What is your role with Honor Flight?
I do scheduling. I have the privilege of calling veterans and guardians and getting them scheduled, and then I assist Mike Van Kampen in assigning hotel rooms and whatever he needs me to do.
So you probably talk to just about every veteran that ends up going on the flight.
Almost everyone.
All right, so now we're putting a face to a voice when they call you.
It is nice at the airport to meet them, who I've been speaking to. I always enjoy meeting who I've been talking to.
Because it sounds like you have lengthy conversations with them in preparation for this.
Lengthy conversations with them.
Very good.
Yes.
So what would you like to share about Kansas Honor Flight?
Kansas Honor Flight, to me, I got involved in 2013, and when I started out, I was going to do something for someone else, and it's turned into so much more. It's very humbling to go with the veterans and to be able to try and pay them back with respect. It's just very rewarding and humbling, and we thank our veterans so much.
What holds people back from signing up right away? When you're talking to them on the phone, do they delay sometimes?
Sometimes they delay, or they feel like they don't deserve it. I talked to a woman yesterday who was in the Navy. She was a secretary at the Pentagon, and she felt like she didn't deserve it. But it took what she did, as well as those in the fields, to make that war happen.
What are some of the other reasons people might delay? What are the hesitations?
Sometimes they don't want to travel. Some of these guys, we take them straight off the farm and they have not been on a plane literally since they got home from Vietnam. And that's a little frightening for them, but they always enjoy it and they're always happy after they do it.
What are some of the things you hear back later after they've gone on the trip?
Oh, that is a wonderful question. There's veterans probably that could tell you much more, but it's very enlightening to see them visit. Like the first day we get together and we get to know each other and we travel all day, gather maybe after the banquet and chat a little bit, spend the whole next day together, and then that evening is where a lot of camaraderie comes in and the veterans really start talking about things. And I've excused myself from many conversations that I really have no business even being part of while they're visiting, and they maybe have never ever told that to anyone in their entire life until they go on a Kansas Honor Flight and share that with fellow veterans.
And what do you think that means to them to share something that maybe they've not shared before?
Some of the most heartfelt letters come from them when we get home. I had a veteran's sister reach out to me about 2 months after her brother came back from a flight, and she said that her brother has talked more to her family and said more that they never knew since he went on his honor flight. And so she contacted me to tell me that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I know you spend hours upon hours upon hours doing this volunteer job. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Delighted to introduce you to Kenny White, a Vietnam vet. Kenny, thank you so much for what you do with Kansas Honor Flight. What can you share with us?
Well, I got tied up with the Kansas Honor Flight. I met Mike Van Kampen in 2012, and I'm the commander of American Legion Post 4. He wanted a little hall to kind of start our chapter off. So he came to me, giving the hall, and it was a great meeting, and that's when we started the chapter. And I'm an American Legion rider, and we go out and we support them. And then in 2014, he invited me on the board. So I've been on the board since 2014. I'm around veterans every day. Most of them are Vietnam vet. And it's just a great organization. I wouldn't change it for nothing.
And most of the vets that are going on the trip now are Vietnam vets.
Correct.
What would you like to say to them?
We all didn't get a very good welcome home, as everybody knows. That's not there anymore. That's changed. I want them to get rid of their bitterness and go. And once they're there, and a lot of them don't even want to approach the wall, but once they're there was several other Vietnam vets, and they're there to support each other. Mm-hmm. We even encourage them to go with a buddy. Find your best friend that's a Vietnam vet. You can go together. Mm-hmm. You'll room together, you'll eat together, you'll be on the bus together. I just want to encourage the Vietnam guys to quit holding out and go.
What are they likely to experience? What kind of transformations in people's lives have you observed?
They all have a transformation. I have never seen anybody not come back. I guarantee them they will transform to with the people they know that loves them and stuff, and the bitterness, just get rid of it. It's well gone. It's 50 years ago. They'll be there with their buddies. They'll go to the wall together. I've been there several times and I still tear up when I go to the wall. You cannot help it. But it's time to just let the bitterness go. And if you're, and a lot of Vietnam vets are healthy and then go totally by themselves, but medically, if they need some support, they've got somebody there with them, wheelchair, whatever they need, we're there for them. They're just brothers in arms, and that's what I encourage everybody to go.
Well, thank you so much. I think that encouragement means so much, and I know just from my family's experience what an amazing thing this is, and so let us honor you and help provide something really special that'll make a big difference.
Well, thanks for exposing this and helping us. Really appreciate it.
My honor, Kenny. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm honored to introduce you to Herb Duncan. We actually have an award named after him here at the PBS station for our Veterans Coming Home banquet. He won it 9 years ago, so you must be a can-do guy.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I look at myself as more or less as a problem solver because of my Navy training. 11 years ago, I used to be the wing leader of the Commemorative Air Force here in Wichita, and I had a B-17 decorated pilot, and I created a veterans lectureship we took into schools. He came to me and he heard about this new program, this honor flight to go back to Washington, D.C., and he needed some help. So I started helping him, got him going on that. And by working with him and then seeing how this all works and the honor that is afforded these World War II combat men and women, that motivated me to get more involved. Well, at that particular point in time, it was brand new here in Wichita, and in 2012 is when I got really involved in this thing. Like I say, I'm naval aviation, but I'm a cross-trained Seabee, and in the Seabees we have a motto, can do. Tell us something we can't do, we'll just step aside and just go do it. Mm-hmm. Well, we just take things one thing at a time. And I saw the situation, we didn't have the green shirts and the blue shirts back then. It was in infancy. It came apparent to me that we needed to work as a team. Now, there's two sections of this. What we call the blue shirts, those are the flight leaders, but we have to have boots on the ground here to make things happen. Mm-hmm. As an example, when we send our flights out on early morning, we need to have support crew out there to make all this happen. And then when they come back home, we give them what we call a Wichita Heroes Welcome Home. And you talk about American veterans that's been in combat, the tears will come down their cheeks because they are honored. They get their welcome home that many never got. Mm-hmm. And it's a closing chapters of their lives. It's something and the Kansas Honor Flight, you cannot put in words. You cannot. But if you see a veteran with a red shirt that says Kansas Honor Flight on it, and you ask him, what was your trip like? These guys will just take off and talk for 4.5 hours on this stuff. It's just really rewarding. When you do things to honor others, you're the one that benefits. And that's the motivating factor. In Wichita, Kansas, I created with the volunteer base. We have approximately 300 supporters now. I designed the Kansas Honor Flight logo. I do all the forms and things of this nature. And they come to me and says, we got to do this. How can we do this? Well, for every problem, there is a solution. If your emotions are high, your logic is low. You have to calm down and approach it that way, and after a while, it's done. And but the reward is when I am at that welcome home, and I hear the bagpiper as he comes around, and I see those men and women, veterans, being honored. That is the biggest reward you cannot put in the bank. Mm-hmm. It is something else. You have to experience it. And I invite everyone to go to the kansashonorflight.org and check our calendar for the welcome homes and to come out. We'll usually have 400 or 500 people come out there every time. Mm-hmm. It is so refreshing. Kansas and Wichita is one of the most patriotic locations on the face of the earth. Through fundraising donations, support, our schools, things of this nature, they just stand up and come through like, it's just very rewarding to be around people like that. And it's refreshing when I get to go into schools and talk to kids, and I'll take an old World War II veteran with me, let them talk to history. Mm-hmm. And just like I tell them when I start off, I don't wear this old hat for me. This old hat that I wear with some of my medals on it, it represents the 58,000 that never came home. Mm-hmm. And that's part of my mission. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, if you're remembered, you'll never be forgotten. And that's the whole crux of it. That they call it the Korean War, the Forgotten War, Korean War. The only reason it's forgotten is because people stopped talking about it. And those men up are still on that 38th parallel up there. But Kansas Honor Flight is one of the most honorable, most effective organizations I have ever been with. And we don't look at ourselves as an organization. We're just a bunch of volunteers. We come together and we all work together. It's amazing. And people look at us and say, how do you people do it? It's because it's the mission. We focus on the mission, not on us. We're a cog on the wheel that makes it work. And the more cogs we have, the better it gets. So basically, that's the philosophy of it.
And it sounds like what you really need to make it all work are the veterans to say, yes, yes, I will go. What holds veterans back from going, and what would you say to them?
I'm glad you asked that question, because at this point in time, we have sent quite a few veterans. And I spend a lot of time out at the VA hospital. And naturally, there's a lot of veterans out there, so I have a good source to talk to. And I'll talk to these guys, no, all I did was this, or no, somebody else needed to go more than me, this type of thing. And right now, it's becoming more and more difficult. And the good Lord blessed me with a thought. And when I come across a hard case, I'll always say, well, if you don't want to go for you, go to represent one of the 58,000 that never came home. Because they need to be remembered, they need to be honored, and that's what you do. Because when you go to the Vietnam Wall, you can go and find a name and scratch it off and take it home. That veteran is remembered, and that's part of my mission.
It sounds like it's a give-give, win-win, reciprocal relationship, because even if you might hesitate to go, you're honoring all these volunteers, many of which are vets, that are going to all this effort to put this on.
Yes, ma'am. It's an honorable mission, and we stay focused on the mission. And when these people, when our new volunteers at the Welcome Home, they meet these men and women, and it's personal. And some of these men have been through combat, and to see them, but behind the scenes, in their head, those things you can't cut off. It's with them forever. And when they get to talk to others, it helps them. And it will invigorate you when you stop and talk to a World War II veteran especially. It's just an honor to serve these men and women.
And it sounds like there's just so much humility all the way around. And talking about invigorating, I want to thank you for invigorating and this whole entire organization with your can-do spirit and everything that you've done to make all of this possible. Thank you for being on our show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And now we're back with our conversation with Mike Van Kampen. How many volunteers do you have?
Oh my gosh. We have approximately across the state 300 volunteers that do all kinds of different aspects. Certainly recruiting and finding our veterans is the key issue, but in fundraising activities, speaking to churches and student groups. Our actual flight leader team is made up of about 26 or 27 people on each flight. We have a total of, we have 3 buses, so on each bus we have 3 flight leaders and a medical person on each bus. That is the group that flies with the veterans to Washington, D.C. But then again in Wichita, where we fly in and out of, there is a very active group that help send the veterans off and help them when we get back for the welcome home.
It sounds like a massive operation and so much love.
It is, and certain aspects that occur, you just don't I mean, literally, there are tens of thousands of people, because guess what? Somebody has to donate the money to make this happen. Well, that means you're involved. You may not ever go on an honor flight, but you're part of the team.
If a viewer wants to help support these missions, how can they do that?
Well, our website is pretty simple. It's www.kansashonorflight, all one word, .org, O-R-G, and you can go to the website, and all of our contact information is on there. Contributions can be set there. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and most importantly, a veteran or a guardian can fill out an online application and get into the system, and we'll get them to Washington. But we certainly appreciate all the financial considerations that are made by a grateful public from across the state.
Very good. Mostly we need the veterans to sign up.
Mostly we need the veterans.
Mike, thank you for everything that you're doing for Kansas and for veterans, and for being on our show today.
Thank you for supporting our mission.
It's my honor. And thank you for watching. If you have questions about this topic or anything that we cover, please reach out to us directly at 316-686-4500 or email us at empoweringseniors@kpts.org. I'm Katherine Ambrose, and we appreciate you watching Empowering Seniors.